Yeah, so I've been writing since 2019, um, which was when I finished my PhD. Um, but I kind of had this horrible realization, this real kind of spine-tingling moment when I realized that I just spent 3 years writing a massive book and there's no magic, there were no swords, there were no dragons in it. So I thought the best way to fix that would be to write an epic fantasy novel. And I guess I'm probably like everyone else in that I started off by my ambition outstripped my skill by to an insane degree, which is why it took me until 3 weeks ago to finally publish my first novel, because the quintology of 200,000 word books that I originally thought I should write was a bit too much. Um, so I heard about SPFBO, I think maybe 2 years ago, and I've just been keeping an eye on it, and was really delighted to get in. My book is the First Scars. Um, it started life as a short story. Um, I kind of went from trying to write a million words to trying to write one novel, and that was too hard. I didn't have the skill yet to write one novel, so I'm part of the Glasgow Sci-Fi and Fantasy Writers Circle, which were pretty heavily involved in Worldcon this year, so you might have seen the name somewhere. So the novel's been through them 3 times. I've taken creative writer courses and stuff, and then eventually a short story kind of grew arms and legs and became a novel. The short story was inspired originally by Elden Ring and Bloodborne, which are probably my favorite kind of computer games. But it's not game lit. It's not a lit RPG. It's inspired by the way in which those games treat themes of death and life and cyclicality and the um the way that characters have to try and persist in very difficult situations. Um, so it's thematically inspired. It's almost like going full circle. Like these games have been inspired by all of our favorite novels, and I got inspired to write a novel from the games, right? And the premise is really it's very simple. In this fictional uh, land, it's called the Fatherland. It's ruled by um, the same family from generation to generation. Um, a curse strikes for some reason every 30 or 40 years, and they blame the neighboring country. And whenever the curse happens, there's a call that goes out for people to volunteer and take the brand. And if you take the brand, then you can resurrect and come back from death, and then the brand did go off to try and do something about the curse. So really simple premise. They obviously have a really bad time. And the main theme I'm looking at with the novel is kind of a rounded treatment of violence. Violence, trauma, persistence, what it means to be the perpetrator, what it means to be the victim. So I'm from Northern Ireland, which is the part of Ireland that is part of the United Kingdom, and the second half of the 20th century saw about 35 years, I think, of de facto small-scale civil war, a conflict in which 4,500 people lost their lives. So I think if you're from Northern Ireland, you grew up, if you're as old as I am, under a kind of a spectre of threat and violence. And I think if you do that, you develop an interest in reconciliation and thinking about these things very carefully. So the First Scars is it's a dark epic fantasy. It's kind of in the action adventure mode, but it's quite thematic, I think. Yeah, and I'm really delighted to have it in the competition. I'm looking forward to getting to know the community more as well.